Okay, before we get into this, I need you to pour something. I'm serious. Get a snack, get a beverage, sit down, because what we are about to go through together is a multi-year, multi-victim, legally documented saga of sad stories, bluebird cards, and one woman who apparently cannot spell a single name of the people she took thousands of dollars from. You heard me right. She can't spell their names, but she can take their money. And she said that out loud, under oath, in a deposition. My name is Crama, and today we are following the money. For those who might be new here, WebSleuths is one of the biggest, longest-running true crime forums on the internet. Founded by Tricia Griffith, who purchased the site in 2004, it became a massive community hub for amateur sleuths, families of victims, and people deeply invested in unsolved cases. It is also, as we will be getting into today, the alleged personal ATM of its founder. Now, in 2013, a woman named Susan Pruitt, who had entered into a business partnership with Tricia for WebSleuths LLC, filed a lawsuit. Case number 2013-44862 out of Harris County, Texas. The cause? Breach of contract. The case was eventually dismissed by agreement of both parties, but before it was dismissed, there were depositions, oral depositions, on the record, under oath. All of this is publicly accessible through the Harris County District Clerk website. You just need to create a free login and enter case number 2013-44862. And what came out of those depositions? A full documented breakdown of how Tricia Griffith allegedly ran a years-long sympathy grift, using her own community members as a personal funding source while threatening that their beloved forum would go dark if they didn't open their wallets. Televangelist behavior. I said what I said. Part 1. The rules she wrote and broke. Let's start with context. WebSleuths had a rule, in writing, in their own etiquette and information document, that said, and I'm paraphrasing here, soliciting financial assistance in the forums, in chat, or via private message is strictly prohibited. And here's the key part. The rule explicitly covered not just the obvious send me money asks, but also, and I love this, what they called subtle, poor me, I could really use some money forms. Overt, send me money. Subtle, poor me, I could really use money. Both are prohibited. Both, as we'll see, are exactly what Tricia did. So the attorney for Susan Pruitt, a Mr. Sampray, asks Tricia directly under oath, is it your position that you've always complied with the soliciting financial assistance rules? And Tricia, under oath, on record, says, well, no, I haven't. Girl, that's your answer? We haven't even gotten to the receipts yet, and she's already handing them out herself. Bless. Her justification was that the rule was put in place after she had already posted about her financial problems on WebSleuths, so technically those older posts predate the rule. Which, okay, fine. But here's the thing about that logic. We're going to see in about 5 minutes that the behavior didn't stop when the rule was put in place. It just went to the phones. Part 2. The list. WebSleuths members who gave Tricia money. The attorney asks Tricia, as you sit here today, can you recall the names of the WebSleuths members who gave you money? What follows is one of the most genuinely unhinged moments in deposition history, in my personal opinion. Tricia begins naming people, members of her own forum, her own community, people who financially supported her. And she cannot spell a single last name. Not one. She names someone with the initials CR. Attorney asks how to spell the last name. Tricia says, and I want you to sit with this, I don't know. She names Mr. H. Attorney asks for the spelling. Tricia says, that I don't know either. Mr. H allegedly gave her somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000. She doesn't know his last name. She cannot spell it. Under oath. To be clear, if someone gave me $20,000 to $50,000, I would know their last name. I would know their middle name. I would know their pet's name. I would send them a card on their birthday and their half-birthday. This woman cannot spell their name. She goes on to name someone with a screen name starting with O, another with a screen name starting with Z, someone with initials HR. She also mentions someone called VP, who gave her money before Susan Pruitt came on board. At one point, she admits that someone she calls CR, the one whose last name she couldn't spell, gave her $3,100. And what was that money for? Personal. Personal. Not for the website, not for server costs, personal. For her personal expenses. From a WebSleuths forum member, who she spoke to on the phone about how hard life was. CR gave her $3,100 in a combination of wire transfer and, I am not kidding, a Bluebird card, which is a prepaid American Express, which the attorney literally had to ask about because apparently no one in that deposition room had heard of a Bluebird card either. Part 3. Mr. H and the Playbook. Let's talk about Mr. H. Because Mr. H is where this gets truly jaw-dropping. The attorney establishes that Mr. H gave Tricia money through PayPal. At least one payment she recalls being around $4,100. When pushed on whether he might have given more, the exchange goes like this. Mr. Sampry, is it more than $20,000? Could it be more than $50,000? Tricia Griffith, no. Mr. Sampry, so somewhere between $20,000 and $50,000. Tricia Griffith, yes. Between $20,000 and $50,000 from a WebSleuths member. And it wasn't just direct cash payments. Mr. H also paid expenses on Tricia's behalf. Third parties. What third parties? The attorney asks. Tricia Griffith, my vet and my gas bill. The vet and the natural gas bill. A man gave this woman $20,000 to $50,000 and paid her vet bills and her gas bill, and she cannot spell his name. The attorney then asks, and I want you to notice this question because it matters later. Did you ask him to pay your pharmacy prescriptions? Tricia's attorney immediately jumps in. Objection. It's harassing. It's personal. It's irrelevant. But then the deposing attorney flips it. Mr. Sampry, if Mr. H testifies that you asked him to pay for pharmacy prescriptions on your behalf, is he lying? Tricia Griffith, he offered. He offered. That is her answer to everything. He offered. She offered. They just kept offering and she just kept accepting. Like a very passive vending machine. Part 4. The Playbook Defined. Now here is where we have to slow down and look at the pattern. Because this is not random. The attorney gets Tricia to describe exactly how these transactions came about. And what she describes is a very specific, very calculated emotional cycle. Step 1. Tricia talks to these members on the phone, one-on-one, privately, about her life. Step 2. In those conversations, she shares her hardships. No insurance, difficulty paying bills, difficulty living. The website might go down. The animals need vet care. Step 3. The member, moved by what they're hearing, says something like, If there's ever anything I can do, please let me know. Step 4, and this is the part Tricia actually admits to under oath, she goes back to those people and takes them up on it. Tricia Griffith. If they offered, I can help you anytime, any place, whatever you need, let me know. Please let me know. Then I may have gone back and said, okay, I'm going to take you up on your offer. This is the subtle poor me solicitation the WebSleuths rules explicitly prohibited. Tricia essentially admitted, under oath, to doing exactly what her own form's rules said was off limits. The attorney even summarizes it back to her. So they'd say, if you ever need anything, let me know, and then you'd call them up and say, I'm ready to take you up on that. I need X amount of dollars. Tricia Griffith. Correct, yes. Correct, yes. Under oath. The grift confirmed by the grifter in a court document that is publicly available that you can look up yourself today for free. Section 3. The forum as a weapon. Give me money or your community dies. One of the most disturbing elements of all of this, and credit to Everyday with Jay for digging into this specific piece, is that Tricia didn't just work her members privately. She also allegedly used the forum itself as a pressure mechanism. There are documented instances across the years of Tricia posting on WebSleuths when the site was struggling, telling the community that the forum would go down, go dark, cease to exist if members didn't contribute money. Now, on the surface, that might sound like a website owner being transparent about financial difficulties. But let me explain why it's actually something much more calculated. WebSleuths wasn't just a website to its members. It was a community, a daily destination, a place where people had built friendships, followed cases for years, had real emotional investment. Tricia built that and then weaponized it. Threatening that a community will disappear unless people pay up isn't transparency. It's coercion. It's the digital version of a timeshare hard sell. Because now it's not just help Tricia pay her bills, it's help Tricia pay her bills, or the place you've invested years of your time, the friendships you've built, the cases you followed, all of it goes away. That is a level of pressure that I think a lot of people don't even recognize in the moment. You don't feel like you're being manipulated. You feel like you're saving something you love. And she knows that. She built that. Televangelist coded. I've said it twice now. I'll say it again. Section 4. Nothing changed. Meet Beth B. 2006 to 2013 to present. The pattern holds. So now you have the 2013 deposition. You have Tricia, under oath, confirming a very specific pattern of behavior. Identify members with financial means, build personal relationships through phone calls, share hardship stories, accept money when it's offered, and then go back and accept more. Here's what I need you to understand. That was 2013. The lawsuit was filed, it was dismissed by agreement of both parties, and Tricia went right on running WebSleuths. And then, years later, we meet Beth B. Beth B was an elderly WebSleuth supporter with financial means. According to Tricia herself, Beth B was a significant financial supporter, someone who had been giving Tricia large sums of money over an extended period. Tricia has even publicly described how she met Beth B. Through a fundraising effort Tricia was running for herself, where Beth B was donating substantial amounts. And what did Tricia do? She reached out to Beth B personally, one-on-one, to, and these are her own words, make sure Beth B wasn't giving away all her money and living on beans. I just wanted to make sure she could afford it. That's the plausible deniability play. That's the same move, same pattern, different decade. Because here's the reality. If someone is giving you significant amounts of money, the way you ensure they can keep giving you significant amounts of money is to personally check in, express concern, build a close personal bond, and establish yourself as someone they trust, someone they'd want to take care of. Beth B passed away in May of 2024, and then, publicly on her YouTube live streams to her audience, Tricia began claiming she had been promised things from Beth B's estate, that she had relied on those promises to her detriment, that a woman named Daphne, Beth B's longtime friend and financial advisor, had fraudulently changed the paperwork to cut Tricia out. She took Daphne to court, and in the court filings, which are also public record, it reads, "She has relied upon promises of estate property by Beth B to Tricia's detriment. A deceased supporter's estate, a creator claiming a piece of it, in a court of law." This is the stuff Dateline episodes are made of. The Daphne filing. What actually happened? So Daphne shows up to court and brings documentation, including, according to Tricia, what she calls an old will from 2011. A will that, if family members listed were no longer living, directed Beth B's estate toward an animal shelter, not Tricia. Tricia's response to learning about this will has been to publicly shift the story multiple times. Daphne changed the paperwork. Daphne is nefarious. The will is old. It's irrelevant. It was superseded. The details change. The consistent thread is that Tricia believes she is owed something from this woman's estate and that she was cheated out of it. And look, I'm not in a position to know exactly what promises were made between Beth B and Tricia privately. I can only tell you what the public record shows and what the documented behavioral pattern, going back to at least 2006, confirmed in a 2013 deposition under oath, looks like. The pattern. Find a vulnerable, financially capable supporter. Build a personal relationship. Share hardships. Accept offers. Establish yourself as someone they care about. Repeat. You can draw your own conclusions, but I would be remiss not to point out that the people who ended up in that 2013 deposition, CR, Mr. H, the woman with the O screen name, were also described as people who offered, who gave out of kindness, who got phone calls from Tricia about how hard everything was. There is a very, very long through line here. Section 5. Follow the money, literally. The YouTube monetization question. Let's talk about the current financial picture because it's actually relevant context for why the Beth B estate claim matters so much right now. For a significant stretch of time, Tricia's YouTube channel was not monetized. This was apparently tied to a partnership arrangement with a DNA testing company. Let's call them Spit and Spooge for short, because that's what I've been calling them, and I'm not stopping now. Where there seemed to be some kind of financial arrangement that took the place of YouTube ad revenue. Tricia would regularly tell her audience, "We don't run ads on this channel." Which, okay. But when that company eventually launched their own separate YouTube channel, suddenly Tricia's channel is monetized again. Except, according to Tricia, the monetization revenue goes directly to them, to that company. So, her YouTube channel, her name on the account, her audience, the monetization goes to a third party. I don't fully understand the arrangement. I don't think anyone outside of those two parties fully understands the arrangement. But the fact that it exists, alongside the estate lawsuit, the ongoing financial hardship narrative, the historical deposition admissions, paints a picture. Tricia Griffith has, by multiple documented accounts, consistently operated in a state of financial reliance on other people's generosity, whether community members, business partners, elderly supporters, or potentially now deceased supporters' estates. That's the through line. That's what following the money actually looks like. Section 6, the psychological pattern, what we're actually looking at. Let me take a breath from the timeline for a second and just analyze this, because I think it's important not to just list the facts, but to understand the mechanism. What Tricia Griffith has allegedly done across decades with multiple people fits a very specific pattern that psychologists and financial exploitation researchers would recognize immediately. It is not random. It is not unlucky. It is a repeatable methodology. Step 1, identification. Tricia identifies people within her sphere of influence, her forum members, her YouTube supporters, who have financial means and who are emotionally invested in her and/or her community. The elderly, the lonely, the true believers. Step 2, isolation into personal relationship. The relationship moves off the public forum and onto the phone. This is critical. Once the relationship is personal and private, the person is no longer a forum member giving to a creator. They're a friend helping out someone they care about. Step 3, the sad story loop. The hardships come out. No insurance, can't pay bills, animals need vet care, website might go dark. These aren't lies necessarily, but they are deployed strategically in the context of these private, personal conversations. Step 4, the soft ask, the pity platform. Tricia never directly asks. At least, that's what she maintains under oath, and that's what makes this so clever. Instead, she shares the hardship. The person on the other end of the phone, emotionally engaged, says something like, "Oh my God, if there's anything I can do." And Tricia notes it. Step 5, the callback. Later, Tricia returns to that offer. She takes them up on it. Suddenly, the soft, open-ended anything I can do has become a wire transfer, a Bluebird card, a vet bill, a gas bill, prescription medications. Step 6, plausible deniability. At every stage, Tricia can maintain, and does maintain under oath, that she never asked. They offered. She just accepted. This is what makes it so slippery from a legal standpoint and so effective from a psychological one. This is not a broke woman making bad decisions. This is a practiced pattern of emotional manipulation deployed repeatedly against vulnerable people over the course of many years. The deposition is the proof. Section 7, closing thoughts. Here's where I land on all of this. Tricia Griffith built something real. WebSleuths is a real community that has real meaning to real people. Cases have been advanced. Families have found connection. People have built lasting friendships there. I'm not going to erase that. But she also, by her own sworn testimony, used that community as a personal funding source for years. She allegedly leveraged people's emotional investment in that community as a threat. She built personal relationships with financially capable members and ran what the deposition testimony describes as a very methodical, soft grift. And now, in 2025 and 2026, we see the same pattern playing out in the open. The Beth B situation, the estate filing, the "I relied on this to my detriment" language in legal documents, the ongoing financial hardship narrative to her YouTube audience. Nothing new. Decade after decade, the playbook stays the same. Only the names change, and she can't remember those anyway. Everything discussed in this video is drawn from publicly available court documents accessible through the Harris County District Clerk. Case number 2013-44862. As always, follow the money. Crama out.